Ever thought about how you'd actually buy something in Japan? You'd think it's simple, right? Just point and say a number. Well, it's not quite that easy. We're going to dive into the fascinating and, yeah, kind of tricky world of Japanese counting. And we're going to crack the code right now. Okay, picture this. You're in a super cool shop in Tokyo, right? You spot these awesome t-shirts and you decide you've got to have 3 of them. So you walk up to the counter. Now what do you say? Seems like a simple question, but trust me, the answer opens up this whole new, fascinating layer of the language. You see, in Japanese, just saying the number by itself is almost never enough. You have to add a special counter word, and that word changes depending on what you're counting. It's kind of like a puzzle, but once you get the hang of the basics, it really starts to click. Right, let's get back to our shopping trip and see this puzzle, what I'm calling the counter conundrum, in action. So you start off strong. You walk up and say, "Sumimasen, T-shatsu okudasai." Perfect. "Excuse me, a t-shirt, please." The clerk totally gets that you want a t-shirt. But then they ask you a question. They reply, "Nanmai desu ka?" And this is where you might freeze up. My? What on earth is my? Well, that one little word is the key to everything. It does mean how many, but it's specific. It's for a certain category of thing. And boom, just like that, you've stumbled right into the Japanese counter system. So how do we solve this thing? Let's start by digging into 2 of the most common, most useful counters you will ever need, mai and han. So what are we really talking about here? In Japanese, they're called jozushi. The best way to think about them is like when we say a pair of shoes or a loaf of bread in English. But in Japanese, that idea is taken way further. It applies to almost everything. They're just special words you tack onto a number to classify what you're counting. All right, let's rewind. We're back in the store, but this time you're armed with this new knowledge. You know the clerk is waiting for the right counter word. You want 3 t-shirts. The correct way to say it is sanmai kudasai. San is 3 and mai is the counter for thin, flat objects. And that's the key. Mai works for t-shirts, but also for sheets of paper, stamps, photos, you name it. Anything flat. Now, the awesome thing about mai is that it's super simple to use. You just stick it on the end of the number. Ichimai, nimai, sanmai. The pronunciation doesn't change. And to ask the question, it's just nanmai. See? Easy enough, right? Okay, success. You've got your t-shirts. But of course, now it starts to rain. You need an umbrella. And this is where we run into a whole different counter. And this one's a little bit trickier. So you say, "Sumimasen, kasa o kudasai." Excuse me, an umbrella, please. The clerk comes back with, "Nanbon desu ka?" Hear that? It's not han, it's bon. This is the counter for long, skinny things like umbrellas, pens, bananas, even bottles of beer or wine. But the tricky part is, its sound changes. Okay, I know this looks complicated, but there's a really neat trick here. Think about the numbers where your lips close when you say them, like 1, ichi, or 6, roku. See? Your lips come together. For those numbers, the counter becomes pon. Now try the ones where your lips stay open, like 2, mi, or 4, yon. For those, it's hon. And then there's 3, which is just the one exception you gotta memorize, sanbon. It's a fantastic little window into how Japanese sounds can shift just to make things flow better. So at this point, you're probably thinking, wait, I have to learn a different counter for literally everything? It can definitely feel that way, but don't panic. There's a secret weapon for beginners. It's a total lifesaver. I mean, just look at this list. There are special counters for cars, for small animals, for big animals, for houses. They even have one for blocks of tofu. It's a lot. It's really easy to feel a bit overwhelmed. But seriously, you don't have to be. For pretty much any day-to-day situation, especially when you're just starting out, there is one magical, all-purpose counter that you can use for almost anything. And this is it, the tsu counter. This is your absolute go-to. If you have no idea if something is flat or long or a block of tofu, who cares? You just use this. Hitotsu for 1, futatsu for 2, mitsu for 3, and you get the idea. Now, there is one catch. It only works for quantities from 1 to 10. If you need 11 of something, well, you're out of luck. So you did it. You ordered your 3 t-shirts and your 1 umbrella. But before you can actually pay, there is one more absolutely essential question you need to know. After all that work counting, you gotta ask, "Ikura desu ka?" which means, how much is it?
Being able to count stuff is a huge step. But once you've got that down, the next logical move is to learn how to ask a few more detailed questions.
Let's start with people. If you want to ask who someone is, the question is simply, "Dare desu ka?" A totally normal answer would be something like, "Suzuki-san desu." It's Mr. or Miss Suzuki. Nice and simple. Now, if you want to ask about whose something is, possession, you just add the little particle no. So, "Dare no kaban desu ka?" means whose bag is it? And the answer follows that same pattern. "Suzuki-san no kaban desu." It's Suzuki's bag. But what if you want to know more about the thing itself? Then you use the word dana. "Dana kaban desu ka?" is like asking, what kind of bag is it? The answer can describe its color or its size, anything really. Like, "Akai kaban desu?" It's a red bag.
And finally, if you want to ask about where something is from, like its country of origin or even its brand, you use doko. Doko no kaban desu ka can mean, where is this bag from? The answer could be a country, like Nihon no kaban desu, meaning a Japanese bag. Or it could even be a brand name.
So what's the big secret here? Well, it's that you don't need to know hundreds of these things. Just get a handle on mai for flat stuff, keep an eye out for those tricky ones like han, and when you're totally stuck, just lean on that universal tsu counter. You mix that with those few key question words, and you're honestly pretty much set. But it does leave you with a really interesting thought, doesn't it? If a language develops such a precise, detailed system for classifying and counting the world around it, what does that suggest about the culture's inherent